Developers need to understand that if you work with a narrative consultation company as controversial as Sweet Baby Inc., your game is going to face backlash, and the more you try to silence people, the more the Streisand effect is going to occur. And a new game that came out, Winter Burrow, has recently been under fire for being an SBI title, but they are trying to silence anybody talking about it on their forums. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, every once in a while, there is a Sweet Baby Inc. game that comes out that actually looks half decent, and Winter Burrow is actually a title that I personally was a little bit excited for. I had actually downloaded the demo. This was a game that I was going to play in my off time just because it looks so cute and looks so cozy. And then I found out it was a Sweet Baby Inc. game. And I said to myself, oh, of course it is. And what could they possibly ruin in this title? But at the same time, I get that SBI has worked on a lot of titles, and it seems that they're getting paid for doing virtually nothing. But there are developers out there who need to understand that when you work with such a controversial company, you're going to face backlash over it. And of course, we now have all the confirmation in the world that they worked on this title, but it was reported a couple of days ago by Master of the TDS and Writing Raven that it was a SBI title. Another hidden project slipped out after Cameron Wild leaked it in the About section for himself in a talk he gave. Winter Burrow is a cozy woodland survival game about a mouse returning home to restore their childhood burrow. It's developed by Pine Creek Games and published by Noodle Cake, but Cameron Wild had said that they are a writer whose journey through storytelling has taken them from documentary films to games and beyond, with contributions to title like Usual June, God of War Ragnarok, South of Midnight, and Winter Burrow. They hope to help resonant stories find their place in the world. I personally was a little bit hurt by the fact that SBI was affiliated with this game, but there were people saying, well, technically, we don't know what they did, but it doesn't matter because they still sunk their claws into this game. And of course, people are never going to be happy about that, and they're going to want to voice their opinion. So people took to the Steam forums to voice their opinion. As you can see, it's all looking pretty clear. It's all looking pretty solid. There's no mention of any controversy or Sweet Baby Inc. over the past couple of days, and it's not because they're not facing backlash, it's because they are deleting threads. So people had started posting, you have been banned from Winter Burrow's community hub for simply asking, why would anyone work with SBI? These developers could have given a reason, saying years ago we signed with them, and even though we don't agree with everything they've done, they did help on this game, so we do need to give them credit. Like, they could have tried to save their asses, or they could have stayed silent and allowed people to criticize, but now they have caused the Streisand effect to occur because now they are deleting tons of different threads on this. So Master of the TDS had actually just posted, confirmed Pine Creek Games is deleting any discussion on the Winter Burrow Steam forums that mentions their work with Sweet Baby Inc. caught it in real time. Now, I was actually planning to do this video before I saw this, and I had several of these tabs up, so I said to myself, oh, I should go and refresh them. And I did in real time. And yes, it is true. I had this thread pulled up on my screen that said Sweet Baby Inc. detected. Just to inform players, Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on this game. They will likely ban me for posting this, but players have a right to know. And interestingly enough, it also says here, which I thought was strange in of itself, it says this comment is awaiting analysis by our automated content check system. It will be temporarily hidden to be verified, but it's completely gone now. And I had it on my screen. I refreshed the page and it was gone. I actually had a couple of different tabs up like this. And yes, all of those posts are removed. As you can clearly see, given the Steam forum is so squeaky clean right now, which is going to cause so much more backlash for themselves. They could have just allowed people to discuss this on their forums. They could have stayed silent. They They could have respected people's opinions and ultimately decisions to discuss this, but instead they're deleting them, which is why I personally am not going to support them now. Even though this game looked pretty freaking cute, they would have gotten a couple of bucks out of me, but that's not the case now, and it's just so sad that this happens so often, where games that look like they could have been good have controversial figures or companies attached to them, and it gets to the point where I do not want to support people who hate my guts. I don't want to give money to people who wish that I was removed from the industry, who don't respect my opinion, who silence their customers, who tell people to F off very blatantly, and that's what they're doing. Even though they're not saying the words, their actions speak for themselves. And recently I had just talked about Henry Halfhead and how gamers are now boycotting it due to Sweet Baby's connection, and this is another cozy indie game that looked kind of cute, but because Sweet Baby is affiliated, because we know that they changed the content, it's like, I don't want to support that. And a game that could have probably sold at least a couple more copies is now facing the consequences of the developers' actions. Companies need to think more about who they are working with. If you are not hiring somebody who is completely vital to the project, don't hire them. Because if you hire a Sweet Baby Inc. and they're just doing a little tweaks and maybe a couple little rewrites, it doesn't matter. People are going to instantly boycott it and people are going to instantly ignore you. Now, of course, we all know that Sweet Baby Inc. titles tend to not do good. Even if they're larger games like God of War Ragnarok, they face controversy. Alan Wake only just made its money back at the beginning of this year. Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game that for all intents and purposes should have been a massive success, came out, and it was a complete and utter disaster. It's lost 95% of its player base so far. And if you look at games like Henry Halfhead here, it is a game that was already going to have a smaller player count, but they lost out on probably dozens and dozens of sales because of this situation. And now Winter Burrow is the same, which, by the way, I did, of course, a little bit of research on them. And they always refer to themselves with their pronouns, like, welcome to Winter Burrow. Hello, Benjamin, he, him from Pine Creek Games here. So that should have been the first red flag. I hadn't really looked into them. I simply had seen their game at, I think it was like a Summer Games Fest or a PC game show, and I had it on my wish list. I was like, oh, this looks really cute. I'm probably gonna buy this. I'm a girl, right? I see cute things. I want to purchase it, especially indies, where indies can make so many good games. But this is just such a disappointing situation for so many reasons. And of course, now the Streisand effect is going to occur. They are going to try to silence people on their forums. And, well, womp, womp, womp. People can take to X, people can take to Instagram and other forms of social media like YouTube and voice how unhappy they are with these devs now. So I will keep my eye on this to see if they end up releasing any other sort of statement on this. I highly doubt they will, because they hope that they can sweep it under the rug, but that definitely isn't going to happen. But that's all that I really have to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, of course, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.